She blinded me with science. Science. That's the big word these days, isn't it? Science says this, science proves that, science has all the answers. Science will one day explain everything. Science disproves God. Well, first of all, science doesn't say anything. Scientists do, which means a person has to interpret data or evidence. But hey, I know what people generally mean when they say science says, so I'll go along with it for the sake of simplicity. But let's at least make sure that when we say science, we're talking about the same thing. Pop over to thedictionary.com, circa 2022, you'll get these definitions. 1, a branch of knowledge or study dealing with a body of facts or truths systematically arranged and showing the operation of general laws. 2, systematic knowledge of the physical or material world gained through observation and experimentation. Okay, I'll accept those if you will. Makes sense, sounds good. But notice 2 things here. 1, showing the operation of general laws means the general laws must already be here to show. And observation and experimentation both require preconditions of intelligibility. Pre-what, you say? Just another way of saying that there are certain things that must already be in place, that must exist, and certain assumptions we make in order for us to do science at all. For instance, and bear with me here, science requires 1, a human being with a properly functioning brain and basically reliable senses, right? I mean, that's pretty important, but why do we suppose that our eyes, noses, and other senses reliably report stuff about the universe? Without this assumption, science would be impossible. Likewise, without our memories being basically reliable, we can't do science. 2, science requires the laws of nature to be orderly and consistent, right? If the laws of nature aren't consistent, like let's say the properties of gravity change every 3 seconds or something, you can't accurately test or repeat anything. Thus, there's no meaningful observation or experimentation. Thus, thou canst do science. 3, science requires laws of logic. Without them, you can't analyze ideas, reason properly, or determine what data or evidence means. Without them, simply put, you can't do science. 4, science requires objective morality. If you are in any way tempted to let greed, power, prestige, fame, or whatever alter the truth or get in the way of honest observation, experimentation, or truthful recording, then science would be a mess. Yet, why you ought to be truthful, why you ought to record data accurately, must be a virtue that exists before you can do meaningful science. Hey, look, simple fact is this. Without just these 4 preconditions, and there are others, there is no quote-unquote science, period. But here's the big cue for you. What worldview best explains these preconditions? Because in the end, a correct worldview must be logically consistent and be able to explain these preconditions. And there's only one that does. Follow along and dig what I dish out. Genesis 1:26 through 27, Romans 1:20, and Psalm 139:14 declare an all-knowing, all-powerful God made us in His image, and that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. This is why our senses are basically reliable. Jeremiah 33:25 and Colossians 1:17 declare He established His covenant with day and night in the fixed order of heaven and earth, and that He is before all things, and in Him all things hold together. This is why the universe is orderly and consistent. Isaiah 1:18 and Proverbs 22:17 call for us to reason together and to apply your mind to my knowledge. And 2 Timothy 2:13 adds, if we are faithless, He remains faithful, for He cannot deny Himself. This is where the laws of logic emanate, from the mind of a rational God. In Titus 1:2 it says, in hope of eternal life, which God, who never lies, promised before the ages began. This is where objective morality flows from, the very nature of God, who cannot be inconsistent, deny Himself, or lie. These are the non-arbitrary reasons Bible believers provide for the preconditions of intelligibility. Now, on atheism, on materialism, on evolutionism, if that's a word, how are these accounted for? How does accidental non-life produce life, let alone life with reliable senses? How does chaos cause order? How can laws of logic exist in a strictly material world? How do random mutations make morality? See, they really don't have logical, consistent answers. In fact, as Dr. Jason Lyle asserts, the logical prerequisites for knowledge, which most people take for granted, are provided only in biblical creation and would be impossible in an evolutionary or atheistic universe. So, there it is, my quasi-qualified questioners, quickly quizzing quantitative qualified quizzes quite quietly. There's only one worldview that is rational, logical, and best accounts for the preconditions of intelligibility on which science depends, and that, my friends, is the biblical worldview. So, this here notion, this here idea that science has somehow disproved God has been, like poetry in motion, debunked. Adios.
I told you This thing works different, okay? It's just the way it is. Now, let me ask you a question. I know it was way too much information, way too quick. I understand that. It was intentionally made that way. But was it done well enough you'd watch it again to try to get a little more information from it? Anybody? Oh, that's encouraging, a number of you. Was it done well enough you're having a conversation with somebody and they say, well, science proves there's no God? You would say, I've got a short video. Can I show it to you? You tell me what you think about it? Let the video be the bad guy, right? You tell me what you think about it, and you would be willing to show it. Anybody? Oh, that's encouraging. If I give it to you for free, would you take it? Yeah, free is usually the key word. Okay. All right. How many of y'all, I know, you were told to put it away. How many of y'all have a smart device? Anybody? Take it out. I have a special dispensation. It's okay. You are going to go to your app store, and you are going to download an absolutely, completely, and totally free app. So all you're going to do is go to your app store and search for 5 letters. R-F-O-R-H. Look for a blue asterisk on a black background. It's usually 1 or 2. And download it. It's absolutely, totally free. I'm not nickel and diming you. All 23, when you get on there, you'll see that white background with the blue splotch on it. That's the Debunked tab. You hit that, it'll say Debunked videos. All 23 of the current ones are up there, free of charge. Debunked TV, 19 episodes of that, which are 28-minute programs with the co-creator and I, fleshing out the arguments used in the video so that you feel comfortable sharing the video, but then having a conversation about it. And then, by the way, hours. Like, if you go back to my table, I brought nothing to sell. I just didn't do it, okay? I'm not dealing with all the get out of here, right? But 4 of the books that I've got back there for display purposes, 4 of them are on the app free of charge. You can read them on the app free of charge. I don't even carry DVDs anymore. Every DVD that we've produced is on the app free of charge. Hours of content, absolutely, totally free. Well, not totally free. Here's the cost. I waited till you downloaded it, you notice? Here's the cost. You promise to pray for us so that we can keep making material to put it out. You promise to use it. How's that? Is that a fair deal? Then put it to use. But here we are dealing with today the big argument, the big battle, God versus gas. No, that's not the battle. It's actually God versus nothing. And if you think I'm joking, I'm going to introduce you to some smart guys, right? I'm just going to show one because of time. Alexander Vilenkin is a smart guy, and this is what he says.
Is that the universe could be spontaneously created out of nothing.
So there you go. The universe is created out of nothing. And I can give you other quotes from other scientists that is the ultimate battle. It is not God versus gas, it's God versus nothing. So now we have the battle lines, they're drawn. And I wish I had you guys, any sports fans, MMA fans? I love MMA, not gonna lie to you. And I love the advertisements that they have. Friday, December 25th, right? They got the guy with that voice. I don't have that voice, but I wish I did, because I would do it. It's like, fight of the century, coming this week, God versus nothing, right? Wish I had the voice. I don't. But we have the battle lines. They're drawn. How are we going to deal with it? We're going to take it on. The first thing we'll do is define nothing. Hello? Maybe I don't know what nothing is, and it is possible to get something from nothing. Maybe. So let's let Aristotle define nothing. Nothing is what rocks dream about. Pretty good, right? Pretty good, huh? But he didn't have a PhD, so I need a PhD to tell me what the definition for nothing is. So I'm going to bring in one theoretical physicist, Dr. Michio Kaku.
Floyd doesn't believe he can actually get his taxes done for nothing. So we brought in Dr. Michio Kaku to explain exactly what we mean by nothing.
Nothing is the absence of something. Zero is absolutely nothing.
So it costs nothing?
Well, it costs you 0, which is nothing.
Nothing.
Are we good now? Do we know what nothing is? By the way, I'm going to reveal my bias from the very beginning. It doesn't take a genius to do your taxes. It doesn't take a genius to figure out you can't get something from nothing. But let's give them a shot. Let's let them explain it. So here we go. We have our definition from the non-Christian. Nothing is the absence of something. So now we really want to know, how do you get something from nothing? So we're going to go to the big dogs. Dr. Richard Dawkins, Dr. Lawrence Krauss. Big dogs. Here we go. We're going to go to a conference to find out how you can get something from nothing. Lawrence Krauss wrote a book called A Universe from Nothing, Why There is Something Rather Than Nothing. And Dr. Richard Dawkins wrote the afterword for it. So now we've got the book. But wait, there's more. They're coming to Calgary. We're going to go to the conference center, wherever it is. And we're going to go watch them. $100 a ticket. Oh yes, we want to know how you get something from nothing. So here we are. We are now going to take their video, and I'm not giving you cherry-picked points out of it. We're going to watch about 5 minutes of it, but we're going to break it down as we watch it. Because guys, we have nothing to be afraid of. We need to teach how to think, not what to think. Let them talk. And the more they talk, the worse it is. So here we go. Let's listen and learn how you get something from nothing.
In the context of evolution, what something from nothing means to you?
Charles Darwin solved one of the greatest riddles that the human mind has ever solved, which is how you get something from nothing, in the sense of how you get the immense complexity and diversity and beauty and elegance of life, and perhaps above all, how you get the powerful illusion of design that life shows, starting not quite from nothing, but starting from extreme simplicity.
So here we go. Now we got to talk. This is what he said. Charles Darwin solved how you get something from nothing. Now, because I don't have a lot of time and I love to do the interaction, I just really can't do it. I wish I could. But what did Charles Darwin discover? Don't tell me evolution, because it's not evolution. It was around long before him. It goes way back. Ancient times, right? He came up with a mechanism, supposedly, to explain how over time this thing could turn into this thing to turn into this thing. And the big exhibit was his finches. And guys, I want you to think about this. This proves you can get something from nothing, because we start with birds that have big beaks and little beaks. And in a normal rainy season, you have birds, equal number of birds with big beaks and little beaks. But then there's a drought that comes along. And when a drought comes along, the tender plants, they die off. The little-beaked birds don't have as much to eat. What's going to happen to the population of the little-beaked birds? This isn't rocket science. You're going to have a decrease in the population because they don't have as much food to eat. But guess what? It's amazing. The rains come back, a normal rainy season. You have more of the tender plants. The population of the little-beaked birds rise. So you started with birds with big beaks and little beaks. You ended with birds with big beaks and little beaks. And this proves that something comes from nothing. Thank you very much. I know. That's wonderful. You want me to give up on God because you got birds? That's not something from nothing. And did you catch what he said this? Powerful illusion of design that life shows. Why would he make that statement? I'm going to give you an old saying in America. I don't know if you all had it up here or not. But the saying goes like this. The devil is in the detail. You ever hear that one? That's a lie. God is in the detail. You take anything that God made, look at it under an electron microscope, and the further down you get, the more amazing it is. This is the shark skin. Speedo and all the swim companies ripping the shark off, trying to recreate this pattern because less water resistance, so they have faster swim times. We can't. That doesn't come by chance. Snowflake? That's boring. The God that we serve doesn't do just one kind of snowflake. He got all kind of snowflakes. Everybody do me a favor. Take in a deep breath. Ready? Exhale. One more. Exhale. One of those two breaths is because of that thing right there. Most of us don't even have a clue what it is. It's a photosynthesizing algae called a diatom. And when you see them under a microscope, they are gems. And it's not just like this. There's all kinds. They're amazing. And one of two breaths is not because of all your beautiful trees and plants and grass. It's because of that photosynthesizing algae. Anybody got hay fever? You can thank that thing right there. Anything that God made, amazing. Anything that man made under an electron microscope, junk. Take a look at a needle, right? Hey, that looks pretty clean. Take a look at it under a microscope. The closer you get, the junkier it is. I will never want to get another shot in my life. I'm telling you right now, it's junk. Finest gear in a Swiss watch, junk under an electron microscope. God is in the detail. It is no illusion that we see design everywhere we look in what was made by God. And then he said this, you hold me accountable, starting not quite from nothing. Did you catch that? What was the name of the book? A Universe from Not Quite Nothing? No, a universe from nothing. Why there's something rather than nothing. And then in his opening statement, he tells me that it was not quite nothing. Do you know what bothers me the most? You can go watch this whole video. Don't trust me. Go watch the entire 2 hours thing on YouTube. Just search in Richard Dawkins, Lawrence Krauss, something from nothing, and it's up there. Now, one person in that audience was like, excuse me, we came here to find out how you get something from nothing, and in your opening statement, you told me that it's not quite nothing, which means it's something. What was that something? Nobody did that because we worship people. Ooh, Richard. Do not worship people. But started from extreme simplicity. What I do with the younger generation when I'm doing camps, I ask them, okay, I need you to give me an example of extreme simplicity, but you cannot use me. And I've heard it all. I have heard it all. You name it, I've heard it. And do you know what I can do after like 2 days of asking them, give me an example, give me an example, give me an example? Doesn't matter what they said. At the end of 2 days, I'm going to say, whatever you said was something. A molecule, that's something. A raindrop, that's something. We're here to find out how you get something from nothing. You don't. But let's keep going because he's going to impress us. And by the way, a couple tools that are used to get Christians to be quiet. The laws of quantum mechanics, boom. The laws of physics, boom. Virtual particles, boom. Charles Darwin, oh, he dropped the Charles Darwin bomb, walk away. Can't argue with the Charles Darwin bomb. That's like mic drop moment, see ya. No, pick the mic up, we're talking. Let's keep going.
So, getting something from nothing, Charles Darwin gives us all confidence. Charles Darwin showed that what must have seemed the most difficult problem of getting something from nothing was soluble. He solved it, and his successors have been simply fleshing out his explanation ever since. But after Darwin, it's no longer possible for anybody, any reasonable person to say, oh, I simply can't believe you could get something so complicated as that.
So Darwin showed it was possible to get something from nothing. How? He started with birds, he ended with birds. He started with turtles, he ended with turtles. He started with something and he got more of something, right? And by the way, you're not reasonable if you don't believe that you can get something from nothing. Do you know what's not reasonable? It's for you to sell me a $30 book entitled A Universe from Nothing, Why There's Something Rather Than Nothing, and me come here, buy a $100 ticket to hear you explain how we got something from nothing, and then you tell me in your opening statement that it was not quite nothing, which means it's something, and not expect me to question you. But you see, we have a generation of Christians who are, may I, pansies. We're afraid to open our mouth. They're going to call us a mean, nasty name. They might not like me anymore. Guys, they killed our Savior. This is reality. We are not of this world. We are aliens. Yes, I believe in aliens, not just the green-skinned ones. Well, some of you might have greens. I don't know. We're aliens. This isn't our home. Lawrence Krauss didn't like this. He's going to correct Richard Dawkins. This is good.
But I think you're not being fair to Darwin. I think in a sense it's something from nothing. I mean, completely nothing. In the sense that every time a new, take humans, we weren't around, perhaps more than maybe 5 to 10 million years ago. And so, in a sense, every time a new species is created, it's something from nothing.
You're not being fair to Darwin. It's something from nothing, completely nothing. Every time you get a new species, that's something from nothing. Why can't you understand that, you fundamentalist hicks? I do this with the kids when I got the kid thing, and it's like, okay, give me a volunteer, come on up. Welcome to Biology 101. Bang. And I go after them. Why can't you understand that? 5 to 10 million years ago, there's no humans. Now there's humans. Why can't you understand? That's a perfect example of how you get something from nothing. And do you know, in the years that I've been doing this talk and challenging the young person to come up and take a bold stand, do you know how many young people have been able to give an answer that held any weight? I can count it on one hand. Because most of them are going to come, well, the Bible, don't you dare bring that old, outdated book into this classroom. It's filled with copying errors. It's filled with mistakes. You can't trust that book. It's one man's opinion. Well, God, there's no evidence for God. Don't you dare bring that into this classroom. And that's what the world is doing to our children, at least in America. They come after them. They're mean. So I do it to them. And I'm like, guys, I love you enough. I'm going to step all over your toes because I care. But you're going to walk out into this world that doesn't care, and they just want to destroy you. You have to be ready to deal with this. How are you going to deal with this? Every time you get a new creature, it's something from nothing, absolutely nothing. And I'm like, it's so simple. I can't believe people don't see this. It's so simple, I'm going to let Richard Dawkins explain it. He's going to give a Christian answer.
Well, it's not from nothing because it's from an antecedent species, and even the evolutionary process, the process that Darwin discovered, didn't start from nothing. It had to start from, well, a reasonably complicated chemical beginning, which was the first self-replicating molecule. You can't, I mean, natural selection can't get going until you have genetics, and so you've got to have genetics. And that's not a trivial problem, and it's a problem that actually hasn't yet been solved.
Okay. Well, it's not from nothing because it's from an antecedent species. See, I wouldn't use that word. That's a big word. And see, I know, typically speakers are smart guys, right? I'm not. You got PhDs, you got dummies. I'm the dummy, right? I grew up around guys with one name, Crusher, Bruiser, Mauler, Assassin, okay? Trust me. Dad's a professional wrestler. IQ is not stressed in the home. I'm just being straight with you, okay? Yeah, Whipper Billy Watson. Yeah, there's a guy known for his IQ. No, I mean, my dad was more concerned if I got in a fight or something like that, right? So I wouldn't use antecedent species. I got to go look it up, right? But what I would say is that according to the theory of evolution, which we need to know and understand better than the world, you had a common ancestor between apes and humans, and slowly, gradually, over millions of years, mutations added up to where from that common ancestor you got humans, and you got apes. Which, by the way, that's what we're talking about in my next session at 3:15. We're going to talk about, for time, I'll probably only be able to do one, but we'll deal with one of our supposed ancestors. That's something. That's an antecedent species. And nothing is the absence of something. So don't be deceived. Talk big, but say nothing, right? And you can't get going until you get genetics. Well, guess what? In order to have genetics, you got to have something. And it started with a self-replicating molecule. That's something. Right? And by the way, if a self-replicating molecule is extreme simplicity, why can't we make one with all of our intelligence, all of our knowledge, all of our resources? We can't. Don't be lied to. I was challenged. We did. We built a self-replicating molecule for time. I can't read the whole article to you, but here's the headline. Biologists create self-replicating RNA molecule. Does that right there prove that something can come from nothing? Biologist. That's an intelligence. Created something. Hello? That supports intelligent design as a minimum. As a minimum. And by the way, they did not create a self-replicating molecule. I'll cut to the chase. All they created was something that could modify 48% of itself. Crucially, TC19Z can copy pieces of RNA that are almost half as long, 48% as itself. That's not a self-replicating molecule. As a matter of fact, I read the comments below the article. Non-Christian wrote this. Is this article accurately titled Biology Creates Self-Replicating RNA Molecule? When in the penultimate paragraph, I had to look it up. Second to last. I'm told it can only replicate half its length. Isn't that a bit like saying mechanic builds self-assembling car in Australia and then finding only half of it being built when I get there? I could have saved my ticket money for when it could fully build. I was really annoyed. Why did I have to almost finish the article before I knew the title was wrong? How can I trust your titles ever again, new scientist? You can't. You have to understand that people that write the titles are not the people that write the articles most of the time. People write the titles to get you to buy the product. And I know that firsthand. Do you know why? I'm going to confess something in front of you today. Our videos, starting 3 days ago, we started using, John, forgive me, artificial intelligence. Yes. We plug our video content into the AI. It generates a title. Biologists create self-replicating RNA molecule. We did that, and do you know how much our watches have gone up in 3 days? Over 500%. We are so easily manipulated. It's sad to me, but it's the reality. It's the world that we're living in. We are easily manipulated. Don't just read this. Read the article. Read the sources that they cite and get at least 2 other sources to back up what's going on, or you're in trouble. And by the way, watch a documentary, not Christian, called Social Dilemma. If you really want to understand what's going on in this world of the Google and all that kind of a thing, we are being manipulated, Social Dilemma is it's a scary documentary. It is not Christian, but it gives you straight information that I think almost everybody needs to hear it. I really do. But let's keep going.
Well, in fact, actually, that's kind of interesting, because it's true that many people think that evolution has to do with the origin of life, but it's really the origin of the diversity of life.
This is interesting. Evolution doesn't deal with the origin of life. Do you know why? Because when you try to explain how you get life from non-life, you sound really bad. You sound really bad. I mean real bad. I'm going to give you one thing. Can't show you clips just because of time. You get a chance. This is an older documentary. Watch it. It's free of charge, I'm sure, on YouTube somewhere. Some church somewhere has to have this. Watch Expelled. Ben Stein did us a favor. He went to the knuckleheads and asked them point blank to defend their position. And when you listen to Michael Ruse mock, and he tries to tell you how you get life from non-life, you think we got it bad? Watch. Now, why would I show these clips? Why would I show Richard Dawkins? Why would I show Lawrence Krauss? Because I want this generation to see what they're walking away from and what they're walking to. And if you think their position is solid, go watch that documentary. He did us a favor, a huge favor. All right.
Yes.
And in fact, the famous final paragraph of his book, it basically tries to state that.
Yes. No, you have to start from agenetics, and that's one of the big gaps in our knowledge at the moment. Nobody knows how that started. The laws of chemistry somehow had to give rise to a self-replicating molecule. Once you've got that, at least a sufficiently accurately self-replicating molecule, then evolution takes off.
There you go. So easy. All you got to do is start with some genetics. Once you got yourself some genetics, the laws of chemistry give rise to a self-replicating molecule. To cut to the chase, does Canada have a lot of laws? Got a lot of laws up here? All right, question for you. I got to keep it simple. How many jails, just jails, not penitentiaries and all that, how many jails did the laws of Canada create just here in Calgary? Because I don't want to get real big numbers. Just in Calgary alone, how many jails did the laws create here in Calgary? And the answer is very simple. For time, I'm going to cut to it. 0. None. 0, zilch, nada. But we got jails. But the laws didn't create it. Laws don't create. This is deception. This is the way Satan plays games, word games with you. Don't trust me. Let me take you to the non-Christian. Laws are descriptions, often mathematical descriptions of natural phenomena. For example, Newton's law of gravity or Mendel's law of independent assortment. These laws simply describe the observation, not how or why they work. Laws don't create. They describe. So when somebody throws the laws of quantum mechanics did this, the laws of chemistry did this, the laws of physics did this, they didn't do it. Laws don't do that.
And what we've learned is remarkably this question, which is, in the sense of cosmology, in my mind, the last bastion of those people who feel there must be a creator, is the fact that it is plausible, based on everything we now know, that a universe could come from nothing. Now, that doesn't mean it did come from nothing any more than Darwin's argument implied that life absolutely originated by chemistry. We don't know that yet. Similarly, we can't prove that the universe arose from nothing, but the discoveries in physics and cosmology have led us to realize that it's increasingly plausible, and I find that remarkable and worth celebrating.
Did you catch that? This is why I want this younger generation seeing this stuff. In America, 50 to 88% of the younger generation raised in the church are gone by the time they're age 18, and I don't think we're losing them. I don't think we ever had them. They're walking away from something they don't have a clue about towards something they know even less about, which is why I do what I do. You give me a week, you're going to know what you're walking away from. You're going to know what you're walking towards. We don't have to hide from this stuff. They need to know it. It's plausible that a universe could come from nothing. Can somebody define plausible for me? I can. Go to the dictionary. Plausible, very simple. Possibly true. So if something is possibly true, then it is also possibly, not true, right? So you want me to give up on something because you got something that might be true? Not happening. Thank you very much. And it keeps going, it keeps going. That doesn't mean that it did come from nothing. Then why'd you sell me the book? Any more than Darwin's argument implied that life absolutely originated by chemistry. We don't know that yet. Then why is that being jammed down our children's throat as if that's a fact? It's not a fact. Similarly, we can't prove that the universe arose from nothing. Hello? I paid $35 for the book, $100 for the ticket, and by the way, I just happened to take a date. She lasted about 5 minutes. She's gone. I'm like, looking, where'd she go, right? She's not staying for that. That's $100 out, and we went to have dinner, so we went to Mickey D's, so that's another $150, right? I'm out a lot of cash to come here. I get something for nothing, and I get told, we can't prove that. And I'm the problem, because I believe that there's a God that created the way that he said that he did. Romans 1:22, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. This is what we're dealing with, friends. But Carl, the laws of science prove, and there's no evidence for God. That's Lawrence Krauss's big thing. There's no evidence for God. No evidence for God. Right? Well, do you know what God thinks about the laws of science telling him what he can or can't do? Do you know what he says? Watch this. Watch this. I think this is perfect.
So why didn't I flinch? Because the laws of science differ fundamentally from those of...
That's what God thinks about us telling him what he can do because science said. God's not intimidated by science. But Carl, virtual particles pop into an existence from nothing. That proves something can come from nothing. Really? Let me take you to the leading expert. I'm not even going to read you this because of time. I'm just going to show you the picture associated with the article. I think we can get an understanding of what a virtual particle is, and does it pop into and out of existence from nothing? And the answer is no. You start with electrons, and when they're far enough apart, you don't see anything. But as they move through space, they get within a certain proximity of each other, and a ripple goes out. That ripple is the virtual particle. And then the electrons keep moving, and what happens? The virtual particle disappears. Amazing. Something from nothing. No, it's not. You got electrons there that cause the ripple. So guys, all of these arguments that our kids are getting force-fed and that we're the goose because there's no evidence for God, you guys are just, all you have is faith. All you have is faith. Really? Let me show you this. No evidence for God. So that means there must be evidence to support that something can come from nothing, right? So I'm going to take you back to that original smart guy, right? Alexander Vilenkin. And I want him to tell us what the evidence is that supports that something can come from nothing.
Of course, if you ask, is there evidence that the universe began by this spontaneous nucleation out of nothing, I don't think we can produce any evidence for that.
So they don't have any evidence. Do you know what that means? They have faith. We do not have a science problem. We do not have an evidence problem. We have an interpretation of evidence problem, which is a worldview problem, and both sides have faith. Biblical faith is not blind faith. Biblical faith is not blind faith. Biblical faith says, look, God told us he did this, this is how he did it, this is when he did it. I can take that and go to the world that I live in, and what I see in the world, is it consistent with what I read in the Word, or does it contradict it? That's a decision that each and every one of us has to make. I just want to get people out there making an informed decision. Remember our sign. I'll finish with this. I'm trying to get us back on time, guys. Science without physical evidence is, and opinion is not, even if it's the opinion of a scientist. Don't be deceived. We have no reason to give up on God because they have science? No, they don't. They don't have anything to disprove that there's a God that did what he said that he did, the way that he said that he did it. So Heavenly Father, I give that to you and ask you that you would use it. Thank you for the folks that have made the trip to come here, the folks who are going to watch online. Thank you for all the people that have pulled this together. So many issues going on to get it going on here, Lord, and that's where Satan loves to push buttons to get us out of our comfort zone, to get us to where we're sniping at each other and all that kind of a thing. But Lord, get him out of here. He has no foothold here. We thank you for this place. We thank you for the team that came together, that has been praying about this, pulled it all together, pulled the meal together. All that work, Lord, that nobody really sees, you do. So help us, Father, to just be an encouragement to each other. Thank you for folks that have driven. I've heard people now 3.5 hours. Thank you for people that are driving to come hear this. May they be encouraged. May they be blessed. May we, each and every one of us, leave here more bold in our faith to share the love of Christ with everyone we come in contact with. I ask in Jesus' name, amen. I'll turn it back over to my brother here.